ahead, please.
Jimmie, when you look at this Ohio State offense, after practicing against the Steve Belichick defense for a year, what are some of the similarities and differences you might have seen from what Matt Patricia's doing over there?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of more just what they're doing this year, outstanding unit, really talented across the board, big and physical, can run. D-line, obviously, big guys that present a problem, very powerful. Linebackers, very, very fast, very athletic, experienced. Very good players there. And then the secondary is going to be a problem too. Very talented group, guys that have played a lot of football for them. A lot of experience in that back end back there. We got a great challenge ahead of us, and that's what today's all about, going out there and have a great practice, making sure our guys are prepared and go out there and get ready for a great game on Saturday.
I know you guys have talked a lot about how confident you are in your depth at wide receiver. Who are some of those guys who maybe can take a step up maybe after the Apple Cup when Denzel and Jonah kind of commanded so many of the targets?
Yeah, I mean, I think with that group, we've talked a lot about, some of the young kids. They're still getting their first playing time in big-time college football. So we're obviously happy with where they are. They're playing for a reason. Every day is a chance for those kids to go out there and keep earning the playing time that they're getting. It really comes down to that. It comes down to the guys that go out there throughout the week and practice really well. Those are the guys that earn the opportunities in the games, and those are the guys that we've been lining up with. It's good to have Amari back. Everybody's talked about that a little bit. It was good to get him in some game action this past week. But I do think it's a deep, talented group, and the more guys that can play, the better. Right now, obviously, Denzel's had a good share of the targets, but it's more about what the defense has presented for us. Damon's going to go through his reads, and whatever coverage presents itself is where he's going to put the ball. So those guys are doing a great job, like I said, in practice and working every single day to go out there and earn those opportunities. And, we're really excited about that depth.
What did you see from Ohio State's defense, in particular against Texas, that made them so effective in that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they do a really good job of disguising looks, making it really hard for the quarterback to look out there and tell what they're in, do a good job of hiding their man and zone coverages and whatnot, trying to really make that tough on an offense to not know what they're doing before the ball snapped. And then obviously, like I said, they're really talented. They're good football players that have made a lot of plays and have proven that they can do that. They're going to play extremely hard, and they did that in that first game. They executed their game plan really well.
How would you assess where DeMond is in his progression as far as diagnosing stuff pre-snap and or moving stuff around if he has to?
Yeah, I mean, I think DeMond has done a nice job so far this season, and it really all traces back to his preparation. What he's done throughout the weeks of putting the time in, when no one's watching, spending extra time in the meeting room, watching tape by himself, and also getting with the other positions, the receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, and that's the biggest thing that we've talked about kind of leading up to it was to the season was, his growth as a leader and being able to get the guys together on his own and make sure that everybody's on the same page by the time we get to Saturday. Been very, very impressed with how he's approached that process every week. And I think he's continuing to grow in that every single day, every single week. He's getting better and better, but it all really traces back to that preparation and doing everything he can to make sure that he's studied all the tendencies. He's looking for all the little tips and reminders as we go through the week, watching the opponent, but really proud of how he's been doing that.
So, Jimmie, Jonah's technically number 2 in receptions on the team behind Denzel. Are you okay with that, or do you need a wide receiver to step up and eventually be that number 2 guy?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for guys to step up and make plays when they present. But like I said, I don't think that's a knock on the other guys right now. It's just kind of what has presented itself by the defense. One of Jonah's catches last week was obviously not designed for him. DeMond just made a tremendous play and broke a tackle, got out of a sack, and spun out to the left and hit Jonah for a huge gain. That wasn't necessarily designed for Jonah, right? But we do know that Jonah is a threat in the passing game, no question. He's got great hands and can make catches and do things in the passing game. But this offense is always going to be designed in a way where every position has a part in the passing game. Receivers, tight ends, running backs, numerous receivers, numerous tight ends, numerous running backs that we feel really comfortable and confident that they can make the play when it presents. It's just more, like I said, been about, what the defense has presented to us so far, and Denzel's done a tremendous job as well. He's gotten a little more opportunities to this point and has made the most of those. But we're always looking to spread the ball out and make sure everybody's a big part in the passing game.
Was Washington State doing something to maybe take the tight ends away as a passing option for you? Because Dougherty Graff had been averaging 2 or 3 targets at least per game, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but seeing very many for him.
Yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily something they were specifically doing to take the tight end away. I think it was just, again, more of the timing of the play calls, when coach called them, who was open, and where DeMond was going with the ball. We were very pleased and happy with all of DeMond's decisions in the game. He really didn't have a missed read in that game. The ball went where it was supposed to go, and he's doing a great job of protecting the ball as well, not forcing the ball into tight windows, not forcing the ball if the defense wants to drop out and get a bunch of depth. Hey, hit your check down, right? Be smart with the ball and don't force those things. So, we're just really proud of what DeMond's been doing with the football.
What makes Amari unique in that wide receiver room? Like, what sets him apart?
He's a very talented guy. We wanted to bring him here for a reason. Has a great skill set. He's big, he's fast, he's got great ball skills. He can do all those things. He can obviously it was a busted coverage, but he got down the field, made the catch, and then you kind of saw his acceleration and his burst after he caught it. So definitely, like a lot of guys, we need guys to keep stepping up. And it all goes back to how you practice throughout the week. Those opportunities come as you practice really well. The ball finds you if you practice really well and run great routes and you do all the right things. Typically, the ball is going to find you at some point. So we need him to continue. It's just good to have him healthy again more than anything. Out there being able to compete, and again, looking forward to seeing what he does this week in practice.
Are set to start a pair of true freshman wide receivers against the number 1 team in the country this week. How do you feel that they're prepared for that challenge after getting there, or for Desmond at least his first start last week?
Yeah, I think them, like all the guys, are excited for this game. It's a huge challenge, and that's why you play the game. As Coach Fish mentioned in his press conference we're hosting the number 1 team in the country. And so those kids are obviously very excited for the challenge. We know it's not going to be easy. We know it's going to be tough. They got great football players and they run great scheme, but that's what you want. Like, that's why you come to Washington, is to play in games like this. And I know those kids are very excited. And again, I know it's boring, but it's like it really comes down to what they do today, tomorrow, throughout the week, making sure you earn those rights to go out there and play really confident, know what you're doing, and be able to then go out and shine. Doesn't matter what age you are. That's always going to be the case. Go out and practice really well, own your assignment, own your job, and then you should be able to go out there and make plays.
You mentioned the confidence part of it. Do you notice a difference in that area maybe compared to games of last year against Penn State or against Oregon, where kind of similar big-time opponents to the one you got coming in here Saturday? Do you notice a more confident team? Do you sense more belief this time around?
Sure. Yeah, certainly. Definitely feel there's a sense of confidence. There's a sense of being comfortable in the play calls. Like I've talked before, of certain guys are in year 2 of the system. I think we have great leadership in the group, guys that are experienced, whether that's Carver Willis or, guys like that have played a lot of football. They have big personalities. They're confident in themselves and what they're doing. But I think it always traces back to the time you put into it, and these guys have put in a ton of time and spent a bunch of, obviously with the coaches, but also on their own and working at this thing, and making sure that they have that confidence because of how they've prepared. They've put the work in, And that's how you get confident in anything. You know, it's putting the work in, knowing that you've put the time, the hours, and also knowing that you've really practiced at perfecting your craft, you know, and that's how you go out and are able to play freely and play confident, is because of all the work that you've put in leading up to the game. And we always say, I mean, practice is everything. And that's so true, because that's how you earn that right to go out there and make plays on Saturday.
Coach, just real quick, sorry. I feel like I'm asking you every week about this, so I apologize, but Devon took another big shot from, I think it was Mike Hughes, popped him pretty good. He got back up, and is that just a weekly conversation with him, or are you just kind of accepting the fact that he's just going to take hits and just cross your fingers?
Yeah, I mean, and Coach hit on it too. It's, you don't want to take away his ability to play freely and to be confident, and he is such a weapon when he does take off. Of course, you know, as we've said before, is we don't want him taking those big hits. We want him to be able to get what he can and then get down or get out of bounds, whatever it might be. And it's something that we're continuing to work through. But he is a tremendously tough kid. You know, Demond is very tough mentally and physically. Hasn't really shown any effects from any of those. You know, I think the one you're referring to is maybe the one where he's kind of spun and got hit there. He actually said that one, out of all the hits, really, you know, they didn't really catch him cleanly, you know, so it looked way worse than it was. And I kind of felt the same way up in the box. But yeah, it's something that we definitely always talk to him about is, hey, man, like, you know, be smart. You know, be smart, get what you can, be you, and play freely and all that. But at the same time, you know, protect yourself when you can.
All right.
All right, thank you, guys.
Coach, there was an obvious difference in the way your defense performed in the fourth quarter, right, on Saturday. So take me from the last Cougar touchdown to the next 4 possessions. What did you change schematically? What was the message on defense that got your guys to perform the way they did?
Yeah, I think we played with better eyes. You know, when we had to, obviously getting takeaways with the interception and the punch out, you know, to get off the field. Played better on third down. You know, went to some different calls there. So that was why we were playing the way we did.
What did you do different schematically? Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so, you know, we third down just went to some sub packages instead of having our like nickel personnel out there. Went to dime, and then but other than that, we played our calls. We just played them a little better than we had really in that middle 8 area of the game.
Ryan, when you look ahead at Ohio State, your pass rush obviously did a good job, especially late in the game, getting pressure on Zeviak House. How do you feel that they can translate that into this game where it's going to be obviously just higher level of talent?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to need them to have that type of physicality, that type of explosiveness off the ball, because you know they've got great talent on the offensive side. You know, they're elite at wide receiver. They're elite at tight end. Really, you look across the board, it's, you know, they're ranked number 1 for a reason, and you see that. So, you know, anytime we can get disruption up front, that's going to put some, you know, take some pressure off of the guys on the back end, and help in pass coverage. You know, it goes hand in hand. If we're getting pressure, we'll be able to play good coverage, and if we are playing good coverage, we'll be able to get pressure. So, got to play team football.
Your assessment of Dylan Robinson, especially those snaps he got in the fourth quarter there, playing a corner?
I thought he played really well. You know, the situation, the moment wasn't too big. Obviously, he was able to come in and make plays right away. You know, he had a big hit. I think it was his first or second snap. You know, had a couple nice tackles, and then was really happy with his intention on punching that ball out to get that last turnover. You know, that's something we work on, and that was like a clinic teach tape. Just his technique, where his eyes were, you know, the elbow above the wrist, knuckles on the leather, you know, seeing what you hit. You know, when the guy was going on the way down, that was pretty impressive, you know, for a freshman to get put in at that point of the game to come up with that type of play.
When Buddha went down, who ended up? I know it sounds kind of trivial, but who ended up with the green dot?
Devin Bryant. Yeah.
And do you feel like Devin is basically interchangeable with Buddha from a knowledge and getting the defense ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. All those guys have the green dot in practice, so it's not new to them. And sometimes like when we're rotating, they'll change helmets on the sideline, so it's not something that would be like brand new to Devin or to X-Ray or whoever is in there. They get communication during practice throughout the week.
Linebacker positions like pretty interchangeable for you, or are there duties associated with either one?
There are specific duties depending on what presentation we have up front, but those guys kind of rotate pretty fluidly throughout practice, so that we're playing the next best linebacker, not the next best guy at the position, to make sure we got the right guys on the field to try to help us go win.
How much do you need to change your, I guess for lack of a better term, technique scheme with Tacario versus without Tacario?
Yeah.
He's got physical skills that some players just don't have.
Right.
Can you do everything you want to do with him, without him?
I mean, not nearly as much as you would like. You know what I mean? And that's our job as coaches, and I think we're doing a good job of adapting to sort of what's available roster-wise, as the season goes. Like, it would be foolish to be stubborn and just, do what I've always done, because that's what I want to do. Like, it's what I want to do is put our guys in the best position possible to go have success. And so, we'll continue as we continue to learn each other, right? Like, we've got now 3 games and a bye week to sort of fine tune and hone in on what we're having success with, and what are some tools that can help better suit the guys we got at certain positions. That's what we'll do as a staff, and the guys are responding well, and they're playing hard, and continuing trying to take the ball away.
It seemed to me that Durfee had a much better game than maybe the box score would show.
Yeah.
Did you sense that he was disruptive, maybe as
Absolutely.
he's been all year long Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're holding a team to 27 yards on the ground, like, those guys up front are being disruptive. He got pressure on the quarterback on that first interception. And he plays fast, plays physical. Like I said, sometimes those guys up front, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but you definitely feel their presence and their effect on the game.
Does Dylan have a chance to start this week if Tacario can't go?
Absolutely. Obviously what he put on tape when he went in the game was impressive. He obviously has some physical traits that are much like Tacario, and with his size, I think he's even weighs more than Tacario. We just got to get him caught up schematically on being able to get to the checks and have the right leverage and the right depth, depending on what we're calling, and getting his eyes in the right spot. But he'll have every opportunity to get reps this week and we'll see how it shakes out, and who'll get the first nod to get out there.
Leroy had a rough day, but was there anything in particular that you felt like he was struggling with, or maybe just wasn't put in a good enough position to succeed in?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was all on Leroy. Obviously there are plays that he would want back, just from a technique standpoint, and as I alluded to earlier, just his eyes. Finishing routes with his eyes, so he's on the proper angle and holding leverage and things like that. But like the deep ball, we're supposed to have a guy in the post to help. So it's I know on TV it can look like it's just him because he's in the area, but that's not always the case. So I'm sure he'll bounce back. I've got no indication that he won't. Got full confidence in him and his abilities, and now that he's gotten his first start, hopefully the jitters are down a little bit, and we'll bounce back and have a good week of practice, and I got full confidence that he'll play well on Saturday.
Message to a kid.
Sorry.
What is the message to a kid like that after maybe kind of a rough week?
I mean, just like I told you guys, that was the message. Like, hey, it's one game, a couple plays. You'll be better for it. You learn from it. He's still young, and I think that was his first start. So you can't just put it to the wayside and have one performance sort of define your career. That'd be crazy, right? So like I said, I'm fully anticipating him to have a good week of practice, and if his number's called on Saturday, and he'll perform.
Talk about the touchdown to the tight end, Baker, the flat kind of, the screen will just show 17.
Yeah.
What exactly happened on that
Just
play?
bad eyes. Yeah, like that one Devin would want back for sure. Especially in that situation where we're on the field. So yeah, I'm fully confident that'll get fixed.
How much does Buddha's injury change what you want to do in terms of pass coverage on the back end?
Not much. Like, we don't ask those guys to do a ton pass coverage wise. And him and Devin and X-Ray have all gotten reps. So from that standpoint, the package schematically wouldn't change.
All right. Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Zach, Ryan just talked about how that may have been your most disruptive game of the year on Saturday. You kind of feel like that since you've been here, that was maybe the game where everything kind of started to really click for you?
I guess I did get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I would have loved to finish some of those plays. But yeah, I would say, I haven't had that many opportunities, so as far as like games, but I would say, I would agree with that. It's probably my most disruptive game.
When we spoke to you last week, you talked about the gross feeling from last year's Apple Cup. Do you feel that was just kind of like an extra motivator for you going to this game? Because it certainly looked like it just from watching the tape.
For sure. When you're out there, you just, every game, but especially that game, you just think about every play. No matter how tired you are or whatever, just going and executing your job at a high level, and just not wanting to ever feel that feeling again. So I'm sure everyone would agree with that.
What does that do for you, to get a big hit on the quarterback early that causes an interception, and to have an impact play on that first series there? Just what does that do for you the rest of the game?
I think it just kind of fires you up. Something like that kind of, as a football player, like when you get in the game like that, make a big play early, that just kind of keeps you going. Just like, on the first play, like, might be some anxieties, but once the pads pop, you kind of settle in, and so like a big play like that kind of just settles you in, and just keeps you wanting more, really.
Alex, a year ago you were playing FCS football. Now you get a shot at the #1 team in the country. Just reflecting on this journey up to this point, does it still feel real? Like, how do you, put that all into context ahead of a week like this?
I feel like just not trying to make it bigger than what it is. Like, I know they're a good team, but we're also a good team, and I'm just ready to go out there and compete with my guys at a high level.
Alex, you've played all over the formation this year. How would you kind of best describe what your role is in this defense?
I'm not sure. I feel like I'm pretty versatile. I feel like all the DBs in our defense can play multiple spots. I feel like our D-line can play multiple spots. I feel like our defense as a whole is just really versatile, so I'm just doing what the coaches ask me to do.
When you guys watch the tape of Ohio State, are you guys seeing guys that you're like, are you seeing some things that you guys think you can do against them, or you're like going, wow, these guys are pretty talented?
I think we are also a really good football team, so, when you're watching the tape, there's no, fear or anything. There's, you're just looking for tendencies and certain plays and stuff, but, they have to prepare for us as well. Obviously, they're a super talented team. We know that. But I wouldn't say we watch the film with awe. It's just more like go out, do our job, and just execute what we need to.
Zach,
about this defense that you want people to see? You know, it's going to be a big stage with, you know, a lot of people watching. What do you want people to take away from the performance you guys put out there on Saturday?
You know, I hope we put together a complete game. I hope we just come out fast and, you know, do what we should be able to do. I think I more so just want respect for our whole team. You know, I think that's what our whole team wants. Just to be recognized that, like, you know, we're a good football team. And hopefully, like, with a lot of eyes on us on Saturday, people will start to realize that.
What does a complete game look like to this defense?
I think we just need to be, I think we've just started off a little slower than we'd like to. So just, you know, coming out hot and maintaining that, you know, because I think our second half adjustments and defense has been really good this year. But I'd like to see that start early.
Anything else from these two guys? All right.
Thank you, guys.
Cameras left, Ron Williams in the middle, and Denzel Boston on the camera's right. Go ahead and take questions for these guys. Go ahead, please.
DeMond, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. How does that make you feel?
It means a lot for sure. Definitely just, you know, the hard work paying off and having a good week of preparation, a good week of practice, and then leading up to the game, you know, just having a pretty dominant game as an offense, and then really just trying to put it behind me and get ready for this week.
You guys obviously have a big challenge in front of you with number 1 Ohio State coming in. What do you want people to take away from the performance you guys put out there on Saturday?
Sure, what I want people to take away from the performance is, you know, that, you know, we've built a lot over the offseason, you know, that there's a lot to look forward to and that we still have a lot to build on. And, you know we have a tough defense coming in, and being able to, you know, put together an offense and being able to go against them will be fun.
Jonah, your first career 100-yard receiving game. You told us in the offseason that was one of the things that you wanted to really come back and show that you could just run a complete route tree. How do you feel that you performed just in that aspect of the game?
I mean, shout out to DeMond for finding me, you know, and like I said before, he's special when he's able to, you know, scramble and, you know, make plays and stuff like that, you know, so shout out to him. But just the extra work that I put in off season, like, you know, throwing with DeMond in Arizona and, you know, all the jug machines and stuff, it's good to see it pay off.
Denzel, what would you tell people about Jonah, about, you know, where he ranks maybe in the country as one of the top running backs?
You know, he's proven to do that. You know, I mean, over the course of 3 weeks, he has 10 touchdowns. That's the same amount of touchdowns he had last year, so I think that just speaks for itself.
I like all three of your thoughts. I mean, I know you're always trying to execute at the highest level possible, but your last 21 possessions, you have 19 touchdowns and 2 field goals. I mean, that's about as good as you could possibly do. Like, what's it like to be on a run where you've just had this much success?
It means a lot. I'd say, you know, just the work that we put in as an offense, spending a lot of extra time together, just staying in the building for countless hours, you know, prepping for this year, knowing that, you know, this year could be special, and trying to just continue that wave with just a great week of practice and getting ready for this week.
I mean, we expect to do it, you know. I feel like the last 3 games were games we were supposed to win and supposed to dominate, you know, so it's not surprising that it looks the way it looked. So just trying to be consistent and, you know, keep it going each week.
Can I get a little repeat of the question?
Yeah, just, I mean, you've had about as much success as you possibly have the last 2.5 games. What's it like to be on that kind of streak and that kind of momentum going into this big one?
You know, I think it's big. I think it's big just for the building, make sure that we have great momentum coming into this game. Knowing the lights are going to be on and, you know, just being able to cash in that work that we've had from the offseason, and now that it's getting to show, is, you know, it's the cash in that we've been waiting for.
Jonah, you guys had a few games against like playoff teams last year, right? Big time Big Ten programs, Penn State and Oregon. They went how they went. How much greater is the belief and the confidence this year that, you know, similar kind of team, similar kind of talent, that you guys are better equipped to compete now?
I just feel like having the whole off season to, you know, build with, you know, some guys and get to know them, you know, on a deeper level, and, you know, being locked in on the details and stuff like that, you know, way more. Everything's not rushed this year. I feel like everything was kind of rushed and, you know, kind of bottled together last minute. Like, I didn't meet my starting center till June, and I didn't get to practice with him until pretty much July, which was camp. And, you know, being able to have a full year with the offensive line working together and reps with Denzel, reps with Damon and stuff like that. It's a lot of guys taking reps in this offense and a new system, and that's why the success is showing up, because we committed to, you know, being an explosive offense and, you know, not letting anyone stop us regardless what happens on defense or, you know, anything like that. So I feel like the commitment that we took in and embodied is definitely showing.
Denzel, who are some of the other receivers who've really stood out to you since fall camp ended in these first couple weeks of the season?
You know, with Rashid going down, you know, there's been a lot of opportunity. You know, Desmond Roebuck stepping up over at the Z position. You know, he's been putting great stuff on film when it comes to, you know, the small parts of the game that people don't recognize, which is like blocking, alignment things, and, you know, just being witty within the game. And then also, you know, Raiden popped off for a nice play against UC Davis on that high corner. So, you know, seeing those guys step up and do what they're supposed to do, you know, is big for this offense as well.
Denzel, what do you want to see from the crowd this weekend at SB Stadium?
You know, I think we need to have an ecstatic crowd this weekend. We need 70,000 people rocking, jumping, and excited to be hosting the #1 team, because it hasn't happened in 18 years, you know. So we want to make sure that this is the best environment that we could possibly have.
Hey, Damon, when you put on tape of Ohio State's defense, what stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I mean, super big, super athletic, great perimeter guys, great interior guys, you know. They're all elite guys coming out of high school. Even the guys that got in the portal are extremely good. So, you know, it's just trying to match up and trying to figure out their coverages and figure out our matchups compared to theirs. And, you know, it's just really good.
Denzel, you mentioned that a #1 team hasn't been here in 18 years. Washington's never beaten a #1 team at home, and I don't think it's happened overall in almost 100 years. What would it mean to you guys to be the first group in reality, right, modern times, to actually get that done?
You know, I feel it would just be ecstatic, you know, not just for us, but also for the city. You know, I mean, I think it would bring a lot of light.
Jonah, how about you? Same question.
Pretty much what Denzel said. You know, I feel like a lot of people are overlooking us and not really paying attention to us. So it definitely bring eyes and get the recognition we deserve. You know what I mean?
Damon, do you feel like that too, that the AP poll came out and you guys did not get a single vote in the AP poll? Does that kind of feel like you guys are getting disrespected a little bit? You kind of feel that?
Yeah, but I mean, we don't really pay attention to the outside noise or the media, so we just take it one day at a time and, you know, let our game play and just go from there.
Anything more for these three guys? All right, thanks for your time, fellas.